Box Free with Stephanie. Today I'm going to show you how to make some basic foods with simple ingredients from scratch. And I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're going to make maple pecan pie because it's close to Thanksgiving time and pecan pie is just delicious, and especially at Thanksgiving time. And I'm using maple syrup, and that's why I'm calling it a maple pecan pie instead of just a regular pecan pie. That's the only difference. So the first thing I need to do is start with 3 eggs, and these are from a farm, so I always like to crack them into a little bowl just to, I don't know, make sure there isn't anything too crazy in there, which sometimes I get a nice double yolk on some of the bigger ones. But I have had these sitting out for, I don't know, a good 30 minutes or so. And the reason you want your eggs at room temperature when you're baking is really so that the fat in the yolk blends into the rest of your egg white and the rest of your ingredients. So, whoops, I got to put this in here. Almost forgot. So that's the beauty of using room temperature eggs. If you use like straight out of the fridge, I mean, it's not like it's not going to work, but it's just a little bit better mixing when the egg is room temperature than if you were to do cold, because sometimes those eggs can be so cold that then you actually are changing the consistency of your batter because you have such cold eggs. And something like cheesecake, it really, really does matter when you've got such a high fat content in your main ingredients. Okay, so I have 3 eggs, and I'm just going to beat these quickly. I don't really want them frothy or anything. I just want them all blended together. Because if I feel like if I overbeat them, then sometimes my pecan pie batter can just become really frothy and like white, foamy. And we don't want that. Okay, that's it. So just a quick little whipper-do. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 cup of maple syrup. So you can use corn syrup, like Caro dark or just light or whatever. I have my own maple syrup, so we can see here it's kind of thin, and that's okay with me. But my point is, with my own maple syrup that I make, it's, oh boy, might have to get a new thing out. Oh gosh, wow. So this does not hold barely more than a cup. Okay, hang on. I gotta get more maple syrup out. Whew. I don't make this very often. I didn't know I was going to use my whole thing. Hang on, where do I have some more? Down here. Oh, and I just have enough to finish it off. Okay, so this was made last April 10th, it says. Okay, so see how the sugar sand, I don't know if you can see the sugar sand in the bottom of my jar. That's really fine to eat. It just doesn't look very pretty, but we don't care for a pie. But I'm going to probably put this in like tea or something like that later on. I certainly am not going to throw it away because maple syrup, anything maple syrup is totally worth salvaging, every last drop. Okay, so what was my point though about, oh, so maple syrup, like my maple syrup isn't super strong. You know how some maple syrup can be a very strong taste, that maple flavor taste, and I don't think mine has that. Probably because I'm just some amateur and I don't like have those fancy tools that people use to really measure out when it's like the perfect consistency, sugar-water ratio thing. I just go to whatever, 7 degrees over boiling or whatever it is. Okay, I'm doing 2/3 cup of sugar. Oh, so I was like freaking out thinking, maple syrup and sugar. Okay, that's why this cake or this pie is so rich, and I don't make it very often, like probably once a year. Oh my gosh. But when I do, it's just about the best thing ever. And the other kind of nice thing about using maple syrup, do you guys see this fruit fly? Like, where did he come from? Oh my goodness. Using maple syrup is just a tad bit less sweet. And so you might discover that your pecan pie isn't just like crazy sweet. You know, pecan pie is so rich, and that's partly why, because we have so much sugar. All right, so 1 cup of syrup, 2/3 cup of sugar, and then this is 1/3 cup of butter that I had just melted on my low stove. And then I let it cool down because you don't want to put like hot butter into this stuff and, you know, wreck your eggs. So I'm going to add my 1/3 cup of melted butter. And then we're going to stir that all together. Actually, I'm going to whisk it together because I like to whisk. So again, we're not trying to create too much air in here, but I definitely want all my ingredients mixed together. And then I think I add my vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, and we're going to just do a nice capful because vanilla is good too. All right, so that's it. So I think pecan pie is like super easy to make. I feel like sometimes people are intimidated by it, but I don't know, I've never really had one like not turn out. And not that I've made like 100 in my lifetime, but I've made a decent amount, and I don't know, they just seem to always work out. Okay, so now I'm gonna check my pecans because I need 1.25 cups. And I'm just kind of a maniac about nuts. Like I'm always, that's really messy. Okay, so this is 1/2 cup. I'm always worried that I'm gonna have like a shell in there, and I don't want that with my pecan pie. So this is 1/2 cup and there's no shell. So we're gonna just dump that in. Now I'm gonna check my next 1/2 cup. And you can also toast your pecans. You can toast them in a pan, like I do for that candied pecans. I just made an apple pecan salad, and I toasted them there. Or you can put them, toast them like on a saute pan, or you just put them in the oven for like 10 minutes on a cookie sheet. Either way. So I need another 1/4 cup, which is half of this. Ooh, I'm just barely not going to make it, so I'm just going to cut this into my next bag here, because I definitely want, oh, actually, these are much nicer. These are actual, like, nice pecan halves. Okay, this is a little bit more than I need, but that's okay. And, yeah, see, yeah, these are all, like, crumbled, and these are nice pecan halves. Should use my other bag first. Oh, well. Okay, so what was I saying? You can toast your pecans. Whoopsie, I got to get rid of this now. But I never do. I never, ever have when I make pecan pie. So, I don't know, and I think my pie is pretty good. I think it's pretty tasty without the toasting. So, you can do what you want. If you want to toast them and see if you think it makes it better. I'm sure it makes it better, but this is such a delicious pie that I don't think you could practically have anything go wrong with it. Well, I mean, you could underbake it, overbake it, whatever. Okay, so there's my batter. It's just that fast. 3 eggs, cup of corn syrup or maple syrup, 2/3 sugar, 1/3 margarine, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and this comes right out of my Better Homes and Gardens, which is kind of one of my go-to cookbooks. And then this I'm totally cheating on. I told you guys before, like I shouldn't say never. I rarely make, whoopsie, and this is really a old pie crust. Oh boy. Had it in the freezer way too long. Probably because I bought it in the summer, some goofy thing, thinking I was going to like make pie. And of course I never did because I don't make pie very often. Okay, what was I saying though? I don't even know. Boy, can't remember. Oh, about how I don't make pie crust. Yeah, so I usually, oops, I just wrecked this. Look, I totally cut like a thing right into it. So, but the beauty of pie crust, see that? Oopsie. Oh, this might be a really bad pie crust. I already made a huge gap in it, and then oh boy, and then I broke it there. Okay, but see how I'm like breaking it? Okay, so in theory, now we'll see if this works. In theory, when you have pie crust, you just push it all back together. It's like, I don't know, like dough, you know, so you just jam it together, and then well, I'm going to fix this crack. You'll never know it was there. Plus, it's on the bottom of my pie, but all these cracks, you won't know in just a second. So you just kind of squeeze it together and manipulate it. So back to my pie crust. I have made homemade pie crust before, and it's, you know, I've made it by hand, and I've made it in the food processor, and I think I'm just not much of a pie crust fan, so I'm never satisfied with how my homemade stuff tastes. But whenever I use like a store-bought pie crust, I'm not like, oh my God, it's so good. It's just really easy, and I just feel like, well, then I don't have to put too much effort into it, and it's not like it's really that much better or even good at all. It's just pie crust, and I just think I don't really care. I personally don't care about pie crust. I make a lot of times, I make pies without the crust. I make quiches without the crust and pumpkin pie without the crust, and I just put them in like little individual custard dishes or whatever. And then that's how I deal with it, because I don't really like to buy store-bought pie crust because I don't think it's, I don't know, it's nothing special. And I don't really like to make it from scratch because I'm too picky, so I don't make it very often. But when I'm making pecan pie. Like, my gosh, I've never actually put them in the ramekins. I should try that. A crustless pecan pie, that'd probably be like my dream dessert. Oof. Okay, hang on, I gotta get a knife. So when you have this extra crust hanging over like this, you can like tuck it up and make your crust really kind of big, but I'm not a big fan of pie crust to begin with, and this store-bought one, especially this old crackly one, this is nothing to write home about. So I don't need any extra pie crust is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not gonna make this really big because the pie crust will be delicious. I don't think that's gonna happen. So what I'm doing is you just take a knife and like sever it all around. And then you could actually like reshape this and make just a cute itty bitty little pie, you know, which I should do because it's really cute and there's a decent amount of it. So I'm just going to throw that over here and we'll see if I do anything with it. Okay, so then when you have pie crust, whether it's, I just got pie crust all over my face, whether it's store-bought or homemade, then you can use a little gadget. This is like a little gadget that you just put on the edge of your pie and you kind of push down, and it makes that nice decorative trim. Okay, but every time I've used this, I've had this thing forever. I got it at a garage sale, I'm sure, years ago, and it's really kind of fun. But I don't really like it because it seems like it pushes down so far. It makes it so thin that, I don't know, like it gets over baked or something too quickly. So what I usually do is just do a goofy thing with my fingers, and like, I don't even know, I can't even remember what I do. I just squeeze it with my thumb, I guess, is kind of what I do. Which also makes it really thin, but I just do it this way, any way you want to do it. I've seen people like push it this way and whatever. You just have to kind of be consistent, and then it will look like a cute rustic. Oh, this pie crust is in bad shape, you guys. Ugh, it's all like hard. It's not taking my shape very well. It's just too old. I should have made homemade pie crust. Oh well. Hopefully the pecan pie will be so delicious that nobody will even notice my pie crust is not like super duper good. And this pie crust is looking really rustic. Okay, we're just gonna call that good, I think. We're not even gonna mess around with it much more. So that's like super inconsistent, which means it's obviously homemade. You bring this someone, they'll be like, yeah, that's a homemade, not a homemade pie crust, but like that I made this is not by a factory, you can tell that for sure. Or if it was, they need a new machine. Okay, I'm talking too much. Let's just dump it in. So you do your pie crust, you do not pre-bake this, or I don't, my recipe doesn't call for that. And then you just dump in your delicious filling here. Should be just about perfect because this is Betty Crocker. Oh no, I always say Betty Crocker, and I just like Betty Crocker, the name of it, but it's Better Homes and Gardens. Anyway, I'm saying they've got their like amounts perfectly measured out. So when they say 9-inch pie pan, you're gonna make a 9-inch pie. No doubt about it. All right, and then what you should, I gotta get all this good stuff off my spoon because there's like a bite of delicious pecan pie filling that I'm not gonna lose out on. When you're done here, you should almost see all of your pecans rise to the top, you know, like they float up. And so you can get crazy and kind of like flip over your pecans so all your beautiful halves are like showing. But I don't know, I just don't ever do that either. And I'm not even going to bother like taking these beautiful pecan halves. You could like put them all on there and make it beautiful. Whoopsie, I just dropped that one in. Well, we'll just keep that one in. You could make a big pattern, but I'm not going to bother with that. That's it. Okay, so we're going to throw it in the oven. My oven's already preheated to 350. Oh no, I got to do my little protectors. So these are my pie crust protectors. You can actually buy a nice ring that you would just like plop right on, but I never have. I always fight with the tin foil, and it is kind of a battle, but I always win. Some way I win. So you just want to, I have probably too many here, but you just need to make something to protect your crust, because pecan pie takes a long time to bake, and you don't want your crust to get like way over baked. I've learned that the hard way too. I've done that plenty of times. Ooh, I should have done this the other way. See, I want the reflector like going out, so I'm going to bend it the other way. Nice thing about tin foil is it is really easy to shape. Okay, so then you just take this and you kind of just wrap it around like that, and then you're going to make a little protector like that. Usually mine's not quite so tall, but that's okay. The point is to really just not let your crust get so much heat for so long, because this is going to bake for like 50 minutes. And in those 50 minutes, that super thin crust along the edge would be just like black and rock hard. And everybody would say like, yeah, that's not a good crust. So this way, hopefully my middle will still bake and my crust will not get overbaked. We'll see if I can do it. Okay, so normally they say bake this for like 30 minutes or 25 minutes and then take the foil off and make it another 25 minutes. But in my experience, because my crust is usually so thin, I'm going to bake it for like 40 minutes with this on, because I'm not worried about my crust not getting done. I think that is definitely going to get cooked. So we're going to put this in the oven with my little pie crust protectors. Okay, so I'm going to set my oven, or my timer, for 40 minutes, and we'll come back in 40 minutes. And actually, no, I'm going to check it in 40, take the pie things off, and then I'll probably come back with you guys when the pie is all done. Okay, so we'll be back in about 55 minutes. Okay, we are back, and my pecan pie is bubbling gorgeously. It's been in the oven like 60 minutes, pretty much exactly. So I've turned off my oven, and I'm going to pull it out and show you how incredibly like juicy it is. So the one thing when you do a pecan pie with maple syrup, especially my homemade maple syrup, it's much more watery than like the super thick corn syrup. So I feel like this is really juicy. You can see it's just like bubbling all over. But when I check it with a fork, like it comes out clean. So it's cooked, and it's cooked through for an hour. And I left on my little protector shield pie crust things the whole time, because I could tell it was just baking slowly, and this was not getting too brown or anything, or it wasn't not cooking enough. It wasn't like really pale. When I checked it at 40 minutes, it was not pale. So I did not want to take it off, because I know that it would have gotten really crispy, and this is already, you know, not the greatest crust to begin with. So I cannot cut into it right now, because if I do, this is just way too juicy and hot. You'll just lose all of its shape and just be a big mess. So we just have to trust that it's going to be delicious. Well, I know it's going to be delicious. And it's going to taste good, but I just can't cut into it until it's all cooled down, and then it will like firm up, and then I should have that little layer of my sugary stuff, and then my layer of pecans. That's typically what you have in pecan pie. And even though I had some small pieces of pecans, not the beautiful halves, it looks lovely, and it's not overly done. My crust isn't super brown because I kept my protector on the whole time. So it looks delicious, and it smells so good. It just smells like so mapley and rich, and like not just like that sugar syrup sweetness, but like maple sweetness. So I wish I could try it, but I'm going to just really hold off. I'm going to wait. I don't want to wreck it. Okay, so that's it. That's our maple pecan pie. So thank you very much for watching Box 3 with Stephanie. I hope you like the show. I hope you test this out and either make it with maple syrup or corn syrup, and then see if you love it as much as I do. I hope your family loves it. So I appreciate your time watching the show, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.